This is my rule of thumb for pricing, and it may work differently depending on where you live.
Right.
But I always ask myself, how much would I want to get paid to do this thing?
A lot.
No, just hourly.
Okay.
Think about how much you want to get paid for the hour. How much are my taxes?
Right.
Oh,
and then I say,
get right to it.
Well, if I get so many clients that I need to hire someone, how do I still pay them a rate and pay my company? So I'm usually going to start with one number and I'm going to triple it. Yeah. Because that's going to cover my taxes, and that's going to cover me hiring, and that's also going to cover my admin fees and my business fees for whoever I have to hire to do the admin, or I'm the one who's out getting the contracts. I should be paying myself, right? So that's kind of my rule of thumb, and it definitely goes up from there, and depending on the size of your company or whatever it is that you're offering, whatever good or whatever service. Goods are a little bit different, but for services, yeah. And you just said sometimes people have a hard time like going in and negotiating.
Asking for what they're worth.
Right.
Yeah. So funny when I talk about the program I teach girls with girls leadership. We do 9 tools for effective communication: eye contact, body language, firm tone of voice, say how you feel, ask for what you need, don't be afraid to ask questions and be direct, define your values, own your ish. We call that contribution, but I say own your ish. And then finally knowing when to walk away. Those are tools I work with girls. I cannot tell you over the last 10 years teaching that program how I've had to do that with women.
Oh, yes.
Because if you're not getting those tools early, then you grow up and you don't know how to say how you feel and ask for what you need. You feel like you're needy because you're saying I need things.
And that's what they say, right?
What's your value system? Are the people who you are hiring or around you pouring deeply into the values of whatever company you have? I told you, I just started with Melanated Moms as the educational director, and I'm very good friends with the owner, Jay Wilson. I've coached her around hiring. I work heavily in hiring too. So I work with people with HR. And I've said to her, she's brought people onto her team who when you are a company that helps moms, you want to help everybody. But sometimes you have people who don't necessarily share the same values. And if these people, when you find your company, whatever's founded, you want to come up with your mission and your core values. Because that right there will tell you sometimes, oh, you're not a good fit for this company. Or you can dig deeper when you're interviewing people who you do want to bring on and see if they are really about what you're about. People can look like they're about it on the outside, but when you start seeing how they show up, like, oh, this is my brand. That's your baby. Your company is your baby. And so you don't just want anybody doing it because that's who you could get, right? So the values conversation, and then walking away. One thing that I have learned in this space.
That's hard for a lot of women because sometimes they feel as though that, I can't afford to walk away. I need this job, or I need this relationship, or I need.
Or you've invested so much into it that
you like. Why walk away?
Right. You
but
put
then
so much.
I guess it goes back to standing your ground and knowing your worth.
Do you see this sunshine smiling face?
Give it to
when
us.
I learned to release the joy in my soul. But really, I've had attachment issues. Somebody pointed that out to me maybe 7-8 years ago. She was like, I think you have attachment issues because like that's not in alignment with your vision. And it took me going through a whole situation for the next few years to get to a place where I was like, I think you're right. People have attachment issues for different reasons. About the difference that, anxiety, anxious, avoidant, all that stuff. And I think as somebody who did for a very long time, feel like I'm loyal, Leo. I'm loyal to everyone. It doesn't matter what. Number one, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily showing up in the ways that people need you to show up most because you're like, no, because I'm going to do these things for you. Maybe that's not what they need. Sometimes that happens in breakdowns with friendships and relationships when you're showing up in ways they didn't necessarily ask you, which goes back to what I said before. I like working with people in business because they came to me. When it comes to friendships, what do you need? You don't need that? Okay, let me. Unless I see you unhealthy or in an unsafe situation, I'm learning how to just drink water and mind my business. But when it comes to business, thinking about, I now say like, a lot of people, I cut people off. That's silly. It means you don't have conflict resolution skills. Okay? If you cut everybody off and you don't know how to sit down and have a conversation and nobody's being violent toward you, nobody's being emotionally violent toward you, you've never opened up your mouth to say, this is how I feel and this is what I need from you, let's figure out a solution, then that's an immaturity conversation. And maybe an avoidant conversation because maybe in your childhood you did not know how to work through things. But I have gotten to a space where I like reciprocal relationships.
Me too.
And so now it's very much, I won't cut you off, but I'll let you go. There was a time in my life I used to sit and like, are we okay? What did I do? I don't do that no more. I am joyful. When I tell you anybody who was supposed to go,
so
is
what does
gone.
that mean? I don't cut you off, but I'll
let you go. If I see somebody, yes. I think also reflection, because it's a whole lot of old fools. And you can just be growing up.
Yeah.
But
so if we were to think about some key takeaways, if we were talking to businesses out there and women who are looking for a consultant, what would you think they would need to bring to a business consultant to help them with either starting or the next steps? What do you think they would need to bring?
That depends on them.
Okay.
So whenever people want to meet with me, I do have like a consultation that I'll do.
Right.
And I always ask, what are like 3 issues that you would like to come to me about? Now for starting a business, I would say first thing is like goods or services. What is your why? Why are you doing this?
Right.
Then I would ask, like, who is your audience?
Right.
And then, like, what is your vision? What are you hoping to make? Is this to make money? Is this to get out an idea? Are you open to collaboration?
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about logistics.
Okay.
I do, I'm a person who kind of has a team. So there's certain things I'm an expert in. My BFF, the admin one, she's the website person.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I have other people who do other things. I have my cousin who is, teaches law. I'm like, go to him when you want your contracts done. I have a woman named Vaughn in Harlem who's an accountant.
Oh, cool.
So, obviously when you're first starting your business, you ain't got time for all that. Sometimes you just want to do the business.
Right.
And for that, go get yourself an EIN.
Yes.
That's the first
Get yourself an
thing.
EIN, get the name, run the name by people. When I launched Minnie Endeavors, it's actually an umbrella company called Black Galaxy Media. I have Minnie Endeavors and I have Neo Black Cinema, which is a magazine I had years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember when I came up with the first few names, people were like,
No.
Someone who I ended up working with my later, my partner, Abdul Ali, he's in DC. He's the one who I don't know if I think he may have come up with a name, but I remember that tapping into my network and kind of doing like a focus group thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you guys think of this name? And that's the one they picked. And it wasn't my top choice, but that's the one that stuck. And so sometimes, big takeaway, you're not your client.
Right.
Just because you like
Right
it
now you're talking to me.
doesn't mean they like
Right
it.
now I'm like this. I heard this. Okay.
Just because you like it doesn't mean they like it. And,
Yeah,
it's
that's so
important
true.
to keep thinking about when my bestie teaches classes over at Lehman, and she always asks people to create their avatar.
Yes.
Who is your client? What do they look like? I've taught this to little kids.
Yeah.
And I help them to understand business because, people want to be all PC and stuff. And I used to teach a program where kids came up with different, not just business ideas, but they created products. They're like a dog feeding machine and all kind of, things. And I would always say to them, so who is your customer? I would always say do we want to sell ATVs? If I had a whole bunch of money to sell and I had to decide where I was going to advertise, right?
Yeah.
Am I going to go down south where kids live in the middle of big
Nowhere.
spaces, or am I going to come to the Bronx?
Yeah.
Well, there's some people in the Bronx. There's always someone. Yeah. Those are the all people.
Yeah.
There's always someone.
Yeah.
But if you had to make a decision about your money and where you want to put it, where would be the most wise space to put your money, right? And then sometimes I would ask them, does race matter? No. Okay. Well, we got hair products now.
Right.
So are we gonna just be well, no, race doesn't matter. So we're gonna have her over here using the kinky curly,
Right.
and I'm over here talking about Maybelline straight. That doesn't work.
Right.
No.
Let's
You
be
have to
realistic,
consider.
right?
You have to be realistic about who your customer is. Period.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so now that you're here on this show, Three Ladies Podcast, what do you think about us three here?
I think y'all are so cute.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
what would you? What
I've
would
been
you?
enjoying.
As a free consultation.
So
what would
yeah,
you-
Yeah,
so
give it
tell
to
me
us.
your business.
Well, I think, that's a really long conversation.
Well, if you just say this is a business I'm looking at. I
Well,
can
we're a
give you
community. We're 3 friends that came together, and I'm not sure if you heard the story that we had an accountability group that we met every week and talked about our entrepreneurial journey and also personal development. Being in business or even thinking about starting something takes a mindset. So we figured we will come together and share our wisdom invite guests like you on here to share what they think would be a successful business brand, how do they move forward,
and allow people to grow with us, because we're still growing. We're still trying to figure it out.
Time, but I do want to just acknowledge that it's not always hard for people to start businesses, because some people take all the money they have and put it into businesses. And I do think, depending on the community you're in and the socioeconomic level you're on, it may not be where you can keep failing. It may be, I got to get this right, because some people have a well of wealth that they can just keep tapping into every time they fail. That ain't how it is in some spaces. And just a little shout out to the Fearless Fund. They help women of color entrepreneurs. Also went to Florida A&M University, Erin Simone and Ayanna Parsons. But
we
they
love her.
Yes, 0.005% of women's businesses are supported. Black women's businesses are supported through finances, and we're taking up about 30% of the business space.
Correct.
And they're being sued right now.
Yes.
For giving money to women who weren't getting it.
Can you imagine?
So I cannot. Shout out to them.
I know.
They're fighting a good fight.
They are.
But I just wanted to bring that up, because I know I say fail, but everybody can't afford to fail.
No.
So we want to get it right the first time. What does a consultation look like?
Well, again, we're on this platform. What do you think our I guess marketing strategy, or how would we reach out to gain more viewers, followers, and so forth?
Okay, so I will say that everybody's podcasting now. Yes. Everybody has a voice. Everybody wants their voice to be out there. I think there are a few things you can do. Number one, you want to definitely, that's where you are leaning into friends and family, right? You talked about like cutting clips and stuff like that. You want to cut clips that people are going to latch on to. Also, follow other podcasters.
Oh, yeah.
Follow other podcasters. I remember somebody saying when you comment under their stuff, people start to pick up on who you are. Right. You may be invited onto their shows. A lot of the podcasts I listen to is because that one was on that one show, and that one was on that one show, and that one was on. And I was like, oh, I like you. Okay, I like you. I'll follow you.
Right.
So definitely lean into your friends and family for that, and ask them to share if you can.
Yeah.
You definitely want to be on top of your social media marketing, where you're posting. Where you're posting a certain amount of times, where you're clear about what the topic is. My niecey Pooh, who just won her competition for her solo this morning.
Wonderful.
So she was doing Black History moments every single day of Black History Month.
Wow.
She's 7. And she was doing this on her own, cutting it and everything. And I said to her, Mom, you got to hashtag it, right? You want to make sure that people are seeing it. So there are ways to hashtag your stuff. There are people who you want to include in your stuff. Also, like, what is the thing that makes this podcast unique? Be able to, we talked about elevator pitches. Tell any and everybody. Tell any and everybody about it and why it might be important to them. Because as we said, yes, you want people to support you, but maybe that episode might not be something that speaks to you, but that one is. That's kind of how I picked up. I was seeing the stuff on Facebook clips, So I guess that's the way I would say too.
And I think also bringing on guests that bring something to the table.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like the meat and potatoes.
Absolutely.
That's how
there's a lot of people who, like you said, want to start a business, don't know where to start. So you brought up a very good point about knowing your why, right? And then I guess building a brand, because that's different, right?
Well, it's also knowing who you serve.
Yeah.
You said very importantly that what you may think is cool, your client that you're serving is not really finding that connection to it.
Right.
And so I think that's really the heart of it, is like, who do you serve?
Right. Your product may not be for everybody.
And funding. Let me say that. I told you my product is in my brain.
Yeah.
But there are some people who want to open a restaurant. Like that's where you actually do have to have capital.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to direct you to people who are going to help you get your credit in order.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to direct you to a financial advisor so you can start saving up so that you can apply for those loans or those grants. So it really depends on what your business looks like. There's not like one answer for all businesses. But if you know your why and you are disciplined enough to understand, this is my vision, be realistic, right? Smart goals. Be realistic about what you can do in a certain amount of time, right? You're not, it can happen. One of the people who I've seen leverage amazingly, one of my very close friends, Rachel Cargill, she's an author, but she's an activist. There was a picture of her after the Pink Walk in 2016. And when I tell you she leveraged that picture,
Really?
she started writing for Harper's Bazaar.
Wow.
She started writing for all kinds of different publications. Eventually, she opened her Patreon. She started educating people about unpacking white feminism. I mean, when I tell you I watched her go, but so many other people have viral moments.
Right.
Yeah.
And
don't do
then
anything.
don't leverage it.
Yeah.
She understood how to leverage.
That's
Yeah,
the key.
that's
You know,
key.
so
Yeah.
understand
Like that
how you
Lisa
can leverage
Tisa.
what
Yeah.
spaces you need to be in,
Yeah.
who you need. Networking,
Yes.
social capital
Putting
is the
yourself
most
in the
important
room,
thing.
right?
You could have all the degrees and you can have a whole lot of money sometimes will get you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people think, well, I have a great education. I have a great education. Shout out to me, but I be knowing people.
Right.
Okay? I keep in contact with people. I'm authentic in the ways that I show up.
Yeah.
That's
You're,
great.
you're not going to meet me in one space and say I acted. No. You're going to get this Crystyn wherever you go. Okay. That has worked well for me.
Why not?
That has worked well for me.
Yes.
You know, some people feel like they have to put on
Yeah.
to be able to be in certain spaces. What has saved me every time is being myself. I'm gonna just share this little tidbit. I recently wrote a course called How to Have Conversations. I was
Okay.
like, take that, teachers who said I talk too much. But in it, I talk about a networking plan. And Rachel's
Oh.
actually the person who kind of gave me a little drop as to how she was like, why are you contacting me every 6 weeks? She's like, oh, girl, because I write down how many times I need to contact people. I'm like, wow.
There you
So
go.
I've created networking plans for my clients, for my
Yep.
interns, for my students on see, I'm gonna give y'all something free right now.
We like
Get you a little
free.
spreadsheet.
Yes, sir.
What is a person's name? What is a person's title? What did you talk about when you met with them?
Yep.
How do they like to be contacted? How frequently do you want to contact them? What are questions you can ask them? And I say this because some people are like, I'm an introvert. That's fine. Go online, find some good questions for that person. And then, you know, reach out to them. This person is a 6-month person. I need to be checking in every 6 months. This person is a once-a-month person. If you're meeting somebody on the spot, a lot of times I'll take my phone and I'll say, okay, let's just do it right now. I told you, my brain, ADHD, I'll forget.
Right.
So I'm gonna sit here in front of you and we're gonna talk about a day that works. And then I'll put it on a repeat. So if I forgot to call you this month, then I'll probably end up calling you next month. But those are ways that you keep in contact with people. You stay in people's brain spaces. I'm not the best with networking, but I'm memorable.
Right.
Okay.
So, but that works for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whereas
Yeah.
other people who I brought into my space, I may not have necessarily remembered them, but they remember me. They reached out. They were persistent. That's how you, number one, gravitate toward people who are like-minded.
Correct.
Sometimes those friendships and relationships, it's just that you're not in
Yes,
alignment with those people.
that's
It
so
wasn't supposed to
true.
work.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, that is just amazing. I mean,
Yeah, this was
truly,
good.
this
Yes,
was
we really
this was
appreciate
off
you
the
coming.
chart.
I wish I could have hung out longer.
You know, this
Had
is
pizza.
just.
back.
You'll have to come back because, you know,
Definitely.
as we grow in our own design of who we are, which we're still discovering,
Yeah.
that we would love to have you come back.
Oh, thank you.
You were
Yes.
awesome.
You know I love you.
Yes.
Once you say go, my brain goes,
That's okay. Listen, I think that to me is what isn't really encouraged in students and people. So if you're bringing that message to people, that's huge.
Yes,
you.
it is.
I'm all about the skills. And even when I have
Unapologetically you.
third graders in front of me, I say,
Yeah.
investigate your feelings.
Correct. Yes,
I'm gonna go home and tell my
investigate.
kids that.
Investigate your feelings.
Investigate your feelings
That's
too.
right.
Yes.
Yes.
Model,
Right.
model behavior.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But to close out, and we're not kicking you out, how can people reach you?
Oh, wow. You can hit me on my email. You can hit Minnie Endeavors, MINNIEENDEAVORS, at gmail.com. You can also go on my website, which is minnieendeavors.com, same spelling. That's
And
how
we'll
you
put
can
that in
find
the
me.
comments.
Yeah, we're
Yes.
gonna put
So
that
you
in
can
the
always
comments.
have that.
Oh, you
as
can
a
follow me
reference.
too. It's quite
Follow
exciting
her.
over on doesn't
Facebook.
quite look businessy on Instagram.
There you go.
If you want to see my travels, I am at 40 countries, and I hope to hit 100 before I leave this earth.
There you go.
So Instagram, I'm that Crystyn, ThatCrystyn, and on Facebook, I'm just Crystyn Wright. But that's friends and family.
Oh,
Okay.
This is
I was
special.
so happy when she called me back. I'm like, she's in the country. We got to get her down.
Yes, so
I'm
wonderful.
here for the
Thank
book.
you.
Love you.
Thank you guys for having me so much.
Yes.